It was the only door in the house we never touched. Not because it was locked. It wasn't. Not because it was cursed. But because behind that faded white door lived everything we didn't want to remember. And for 10 years, my brother and I chose silence over healing, distance over confrontation, and grief over closure. My name is Olivia Hart. I'm 32 now. My older brother, Ben, is 36. We grew up in a modest 2-story house in Maine, with a creaky front porch, a wind chime that never stopped singing, and parents who loved us fiercely, but who didn't know how to love each other anymore. When I was 17, everything fell apart. Not with a loud crash, but like a quiet unraveling. One night, Mom left a note and walked out the door. Dad didn't chase her. And the next morning, the room at the end of the hall, their bedroom, was closed. No one ever entered it again. Dad passed away last winter. A quiet heart attack while making coffee. I got the call from the hospital, and the first person I dialed afterward was Ben. Even though we hadn't spoken in nearly 4 years, we had grown into strangers, not because of hatred, but because avoiding each other meant we could also avoid it. The pain, the resentment, the memories. But now Dad was gone, and someone had to clear out the house. We met at the old place the following Saturday. The house looked the same, like it had been holding its breath all these years. As we sorted boxes, laughed over childhood drawings, and folded Dad's old flannel shirts, something shifted between us. Time hadn't erased the awkwardness, but it softened the sharp edges. Until we reached that room. We both stood outside the door, the hallway too quiet, the air too thick. "We can skip it," Ben said. "Leave it for last." I nodded. Like always. That night, we slept in separate rooms, and I could hear him tossing and turning just like when we were kids and the thunder scared him. The next day, as we emptied the attic, we found something. An old photo album neither of us remembered. Inside were pictures of Mom and Dad dancing in the kitchen. Us as toddlers covered in spaghetti, birthdays, vacations, moments. But near the back, a sealed envelope was taped to the page. For Ben and Olivia. Open together. We sat on the attic floor, legs crossed like kids, and stared at it. "Should we?" I asked. He nodded. Inside was a letter. From Mom. It wasn't dramatic. Just honest. She wrote about how tired she had become. How being in that house had started to feel like drowning. That she loved us more than anything, but couldn't be the mother we deserved if she stayed. She'd hoped to return one day. To find peace with Dad. But she never did. The last words read, "There's a room in that house that holds more love and more pain than I could ever explain. Please don't avoid it forever. Walk through it together." We didn't speak for a long time. Just sat there in silence, the letter between us. Then Ben stood up. "Let's go," he said. We walked down the stairs slowly. The hallway seemed darker. And when we stood at the door again, he placed his hand on the knob. I reached out and held it too. We turned it together. The room hadn't changed. Dust on the furniture. A sun-faded bedspread. Her hairbrush still on the dresser. But it wasn't haunted. It was just frozen. Time stopped in here when she left. But for the first time, we didn't feel like intruders. We were home. We sat on the bed, looked around. He told me he'd always blamed himself for Mom leaving, that he should have been a better son, a quieter teenager. I told him I'd felt the same, that if I hadn't overheard that last fight, maybe things would have gone differently. We cried. Not like children, not like victims, but like people who finally accepted that some scars don't vanish. They become part of the story. In that room, we finally said everything we hadn't. We forgave her. We forgave each other. And we forgave ourselves. 3 weeks later, we sold the house. But not before we cleaned out the room, carefully packing a few keepsakes, her old journal, a pair of earrings she always wore, a Polaroid of all 4 of us at the lake. Ben and I talk every Sunday now. Sometimes we bring up that room. Sometimes we don't. But we both know, it's no longer the room we avoided. It's the room that helped us heal. Some rooms in life stay locked not because we've lost the key, but because we fear what's inside. But healing begins when we stop avoiding, when we face the ache, the silence, the truth. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, but it frees the future. So, if there's a room in your life you've been avoiding, open the door. You might just find the beginning of peace waiting on the other side.